Hello traders, it's 8:02 a.m. Chicago time on Monday, the 7th of January 2018. Thanks for joining me this morning. Well, it's my morning. Um, Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. The market is trading a little uh, a little unchanged today. The big pop today is in crude oil. Crude oil is trading up $1.12 from Friday's settlement, up 2.34%. Crude is back in its key price going back to 2015 or so. 49.33 is the composite point of control, the most accepted price since, let me see, since 2015 at some point. QCL. Yeah, since August 2015. Big area here in crude. Um, Other than that, really looking at the other products, some are up, some are down. I see the sentiment as mixed this morning. The Euro Stoxx 50 is the laggard, down 19 points or 0.63%, followed by the DAX down 55 points or 0.5%. Again, the leader is crude, followed by gold. Gold's trading $1,293.40, up 0.6%. Not much to glean there. The U.S. 10-year note is up 2.5 ticks, and the U.S. bond is up 12 ticks, with the Bund being unchanged on the session. Again, just really not much to get from there. As far as what we're looking at going forward in terms of releases, there are several that are coming. ISM non-manufacturing new orders, employment, and so on. But the one to pay attention to this morning is at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 Central, and it's the ISM non-manufacturing PMI with a consensus of 59.6, prior 60.7. This is a key figure. And then uh, following that, we do have factory orders and some other releases as well. FOMC Bostic speaks at 12:40 p.m. Eastern, 12:40 p.m. Eastern, Fed's Bostic, and that wraps up the session for us. Let's take a look at what was expected on Friday versus what we got in our review segment. Friday was opening in the upper end of Thursday's range, which was a fairly balanced trade. In range, out of value, the expectation is that we're likely to test higher the prior week's close at 24.87 or so, which happened to be the overnight high, poke through, and then expected sellers to step back in to continue this one-time framing down that just started this session before. So the expectation is to have a lower high again and to continue lower. That was completely wrong. The market did not see it that way. We had a very strong NFP release. The unemployment release was very, very strong. Interesting, if you read the full report there, interesting statistics in terms of how employment is shifting around. Seems like a lot of temp jobs. And then instead, the secondary scenario was for a pullback into the value area and then a push up into 25.16.5 or so. And that's somewhat of what we did on Friday. We didn't get much of a pushback. We opened at 24.83, pushed down 2.5 points or so, and or 4.25 points or so, and then we broke higher. So we immediately broke the prior day's high, ending what was potentially the beginning of a trend down, squeezing, and then we had some really strong rotations here. If you look at this chart, you'll see that pretty strong volume relative to what we would consider to be the 20-day average. So that set off this trend day kind of behavior. We are above the prior day's range, and we're pushing higher. We've left some singles behind, and we have a very irregular profile at the top. The auction at the top looks completely incomplete, if there's a way to say that. Um, this has pushed up and basically spent the rest of the session, most of the session flagging above 25.23, uh, which was the area that where the excess high was. Um, and so we've pushed this. Actually, this is incorrect. So we've pushed this high. We've gotten to the excess high. We closed the single print at 25.35, and we've hung out here. And the way this had closed on Friday is an indication that the auction is incomplete. The point of control is at the top of the range. The expectation is the market is likely to seek higher, and it did. I'll show you a different perspective of what it's done since. So what we had on Friday is a very wide initial balance. Got a lot of work done, a lot of business done in the first hour on a relatively high volume, and then flagged for the rest of the session, giving us what looks like a normal variation or a variation of a normal day type, which is the most common day type. With the market seeming like it's incomplete to the upside again. We spent most of the session just trading sideways, up, down on the 15 minutes, kind of obvious. If we look at what we did following that, so here we are. Let's knock this down a bit. So here we are. This is after the open. We popped up really strong in the overnight session, very right at the reopen, and we've just pushed all the way up to 25.51.75 right up here, and have been drifting down since. So we've had the strong pop after we opened. What's going on here? We've had the strong pop after the open, and then we simply drifted down again. You can see very clearly here this algo kicks in when the European market. There's clearly some sort of an ARB or some sort of an algo, market making algo in the ES that is correlated with the European markets. You can see it kicking in here and just basically tracking. I'm talking about this here. That starts right when the European indices start. But that's a segue. Really, what we've done is we've drifted down, and then we're starting to get some traction in the overnight session and starting to squeeze higher a little bit. But overall, the delta is near flat, and the market has tested higher and is back to where we closed on Friday. This is an area that does have a stock zone in it, and is expected to be an area that is turbulent or a little contested. Here's the overnight chart. Nope. Yes. Nope. All right. Here's the overnight chart. This is what I was talking about. Just push higher, and then drift down, and is now kind of sitting, having a bit of a channel up within the larger channel down. We are below mid, below the open, inside of the prior day's range, in what looks like a balanced profile, but with decent volume in the overnight session. Hard to read, in my opinion, what the intent is here. Clearly, it could not maintain prices above the prior day's Friday's range, above Friday's range, and is sitting inside of, well, I don't know if I'd call this a value area from Friday. It doesn't look like it found value. Um, but overall it looks like it's not able to hold prices at the upper end of the range. That's really the key conclusion to take away. I've created a profile that goes back to the peak, the most recent peak at 12/12, December 12th. Actually, I think I even took it. Yeah, no, 12/12. And the point of control in the current range, because we are bouncing back up and trading through the areas that we sold off in December, that tells us that we need to create a composite, a micro composite, and the point of control in this region is 24.9750. It's an important price to keep track of. Below us, I mean, it's 30 points down, which we can get to very easily in this type of market. But overall, what we have here is an impulse pattern that has pulled back, has corrected, has made an attempt higher, lower, held higher, and is breaking out. It's pushed through this 25-23 pivot, and that's part of what was fueling Friday's push. Is this break of this 25-23 pivot? It was an excess high and a push to 25.35. The plan on Friday's scenario two is if it does push through 23, which again was an excess high, then 35 and a quarter was the next area to test. And I think we ended up pushing to about that area on Friday. So we went to 25.39 and a quarter. What do we have for today? So today, really tough to figure out what it's likely to do here today because we did test higher overnight and we did get a peak above. Now projecting the range close to close, this could go as high as 25.80 or as low as 25.80 or as low as 24.80. It's hard to say. When we look at the sigma volatility closing ranges, you could see that 81.75 above and 24, basically 24.80 below. To me, it just seems like it's a little bit extended, but I don't have clear evidence of a sell bias this morning. It is hanging on to the upper end of the range. The attempt to the low side could not break these lows right here. This is the overnight low. This is important to take away. Again, this was where the excess high was 25.23. It could not push through this area and is hanging on. Where does that come from? Comes from here. This was an excess high right here. You see that? Excess high carries over to this area right here, a little bit of resistance, and then that resistance after it was broken becomes support. And so to me, it just looks like it's sustaining these prices. It's holding on to these higher prices, and there's just not a clear reason why there would be a short bias today. So the expectation this morning is an open auction against the point of control. I'm expecting it to revert down a little bit towards 25.30, 25.28, and I'm looking for an impulse higher for it to start moving on this low volume zone here. And if it does, then I'm expecting that 51 to go, and I'm expecting us to push into 25.70 on the upside. So that's the primary scenario. I'm not seeing a good argument to the short side this morning just yet. Now that could change as we open. The secondary scenarios we open auction, pushes higher, and then impulses down and gets us the overnight stat by breaking this 25.23 excess former excess high support from Friday. And if it does that, then we could quickly find ourselves down at 25.08 and a quarter, which was the close of 2018, and then on our way to take some of this back to 2500, to the 2500 area. That's the secondary scenario. Now, it always seems like my scenarios are opposite each other. That's on purpose. And the question that always comes up is, well, if it doesn't go up, it's going to go down. But no kidding. Uh, the goal is not to predict the market here. The goal is to create a plan for each scenario. And so I'm going to cover the short the scenario. The primary scenario is always relying on the current narrative and context. So we're going to stick when it comes to the primary scenario. So you saw on Friday the primary scenario was for selling, and that's because that is driven by the fact that we have one time framing down that occurred on Thursday against Wednesday, and so I have to go with that. I have to go with the trend as the first scenario. It would be surprising. I would have to have compelling evidence to see that it's holding on to the upper end of the range, and then to make scenario one a selling scenario, I would have to have a ton of resistance above or confluence or something to play that way. And so once we determine what the bigger the multi-day trend is, and what the narrative supports, that becomes the key scenario, and then everything else covers, scenario two just covers what could happen if that didn't work out. And then the idea is to come in without a firm bias and without a constrained mind that only looks for long setups and can only see things that support what we want to see. That's where we fall into trading what you want versus what the market is doing, right? Trade what you see, not what you want. And that's what these scenarios are key in helping out. Scenario three is generally an open test and reversal. Scenario four is the open test reversal the other way. And then I can do 5 and 6 sometimes, but I don't usually go that far. I do have those scenarios, but it doesn't make any sense to cover them because they're pretty remote, trend up, trend down, that sort of thing. Anyway, hope that helps you out. Good luck. Good luck today. Also tomorrow, remember tomorrow I'm being hosted by Futures IO at 4:30 Eastern. For an afternoon with Futures Trader 71 panel. It's an interview that I don't, you might be interested in this. It's an interview that basically charts out the process that got me to where I am today. What was my journey and all that good stuff. So if you want to attend that, it's on Twitter. The link for that is on Twitter. I think there are only 500 slots or something. So make sure you register so you can attend. If you don't attend live, then you will get the recording. So make sure you register to be able to get the recording so it gets sent to you. Good luck today, and I'll catch you tomorrow morning. Take care.